right there in front of their face. They had skin irritation and sores, difficulty breathing, chest pains, diminished lung function, depression, and suicide tendencies. After Hurricanes Katrina and Rita, Mary Lee and I asked for mental health providers to come into the area, and a lot of the foundations said, we don't do mental health, and we kept telling them how depressed the people were in the area after the hurricane. Once again, we saw the depression, particularly in the fishing communities, which didn't know from day to day whether they were going to have a livelihood or not. And then we started having suicides, a lot in the fishing community, and a lot of people were on suicide watch. And the depression is growing day by day by day, because it appears to most of these people that there is no end in sight. The cleanup workers are continuing to get sick, and their health impacts cover the long list associated with the crude and the dispersant that I just showed you. So working with Louisiana Environmental Action Network, LEAN provided protective gear and respirators to the fishing workers beginning on May 4th. Mary Lee is a phenomenal person, puts in the order, gets it in, and she and the boys distributed to the fishing community who so desperately wanted those cleanup jobs with BP because, one, they didn't have a job. Two, it was their marshes, their estuaries, they knew it the best, and they wanted to protect it as much as possible. LEAN and fishermen challenged the BP in U.S. District Court on May the 7th. BP signed a consent decree to take responsibility to ensure workers were protected, that they were trained, and they were provided with protective equipment. They signed that agreement on May the 7th. Did it happen? No. Fishermen fearing the loss of their jobs and wouldn't speak up. Their wives spoke up and were telling everybody they could how sick their husbands were, until BP told the husbands, if your wives don't shut up, you're going to lose your jobs. So then we moved up the ladder of responsibility to OSHA. OSHA is the one who is in charge of protecting worker safety on the job. Interacting with OSHA on their lack of enforcement of worker protection and safety regulations, I had a conference here in New Orleans, and Dr. Michaels, one of the heads of OSHA, was there, and he and I had lunch together, and I told him what the situation was, because Mary Lee and I wound up being the voice of the fishing community. So I told him what was going on, and he said, we have a problem. I said, I know we have a problem, and these people are really sick, and OSHA is not doing anything to protect these workers. On May 16th, OSHA issued a directive on requiring pertaining and protective gear. BP continued to fail to provide the respirators and the protective gear. Mary Lee kept providing them to the fishing community who were working. Workers continued to be required to work while coming in direct contact and inhaling the crude oil and the dispersants. Okay?